Waves of overnight Iranian strikes on Israel have killed at least 8 people, including children, according to emergency services. According to local media, 4 people have been reported dead. Some 35 people are still considered missing after a missile strike on a residential building in Bat Yam. Meanwhile, the death toll in the missile strike on the northern city of Tamra has risen to 4. As per a spokesperson for Major David Adom, around 200 people were wounded in overnight missile strikes fired by Iran. Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guards has also claimed that Iranian missiles targeted fuel production facilities for Israeli fighter jets. On Saturday, Israel said it was simultaneously working to intercept a barrage of missiles fired from Iran, while also carrying out strikes on Tehran. Meanwhile, Israel's operation against Iran is expected to take weeks, not days, and is moving forward with implicit U.S. approval, according to White House and Israeli officials. Israeli military Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned in a video address Saturday that Israel will strike every site and every target of the Ayatollah's regime. Iran has threatened to intensify these attacks if Israel continues its hostilities. Here's what the Israeli Prime Minister has said.
בזמן הקרוב ביותר אתם תראו את מטוסי ישראל, את חיל האוויר של ישראל, הטייסים שלנו, מעל שמי טהרן. אנחנו נפגע בכל אתר, בכל מטרה של משטר האייתולות, ומה שהם הרגישו עד עכשיו הוא כאין וכאפס למה שהם ירגישו תחת נחת זרוענו בימים הקרובים. קודם כל, פגענו בתוכנית הזאת פגיעה ממשית. דבר השני, ואתם ראיתם את זה, יש איום עצום של הטילים הבליסטיים. אתם רואים כל טיל כזה שנופל, רואים מה זה עושה, ושוב, העמידה שלכם היא מופלאה. This is what Israel is doing with the support, the clear support of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the American people, and many others in the world. So with God's help, and with the goodwill and resolution of all free societies, we shall win.
According to the Israeli military, the Air Force carried out an extensive series of intelligence-based strikes on a number of targets in Tehran, including the headquarters of Iran's Ministry of Defense. As per reports, the strike caused minor damage to one of the ministry's administrative buildings. Moreover, Iran has said that Israeli strikes targeted South Paris natural gas field and Shahran oil depot. In response, the Israeli military has stated that it targeted sites related to the Iranian regime's nuclear weapons project. Reportedly, casualty figures weren't immediately available in Iran. However, Iranian media has said that Israeli attacks have killed at least 80 people and wounded over 800 others over the past 2 days, including 20 children. On the other hand, fresh sirens sounded in Tel Aviv and the surrounding area following a missile launched from Yemen. Moreover, Jordan has announced the closure of its airspace for a second time as Israel and Iran continue strikes. This comes as the next round of U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations due to take place in Oman this weekend has been cancelled, according to Oman's foreign minister. His Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi earlier said such talks were unjustifiable while Israel's attacks continued. On the global front, calls for calm are growing louder as the Israel-Iran conflict deepens. U.S. President Donald Trump says he and Russia's Vladimir Putin have agreed the war should end. Trump confirmed the leaders spoke over the call and both expressed concerns over escalating violence. From London, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office says he spoke with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Both leaders agreed the Middle East cannot afford further escalation and stressed the need for diplomacy. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held a series of calls, including one with President Trump. According to reports, Erdogan warned of a devastating war that could trigger mass migration. He told the Saudi Crown Prince that Israel under the Netanyahu government now poses the greatest threat to regional stability. French President Emmanuel Macron is also pushing for a return to nuclear talks. He urged Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to quickly resume negotiations after Sunday's talks were cancelled due to the strikes. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro calls Israel's strike on Iran a criminal attack, saying it violates international law and could trigger a dangerous escalation across Asia and the Middle East. Here's what the Venezuelan president has said.
Expresamos nuestro repudio absoluto, nuestro rechazo categórico a este ataque criminal que viola el derecho internacional, la Carta de Naciones Unidas y viola la estructura multilateral de la Organización de Naciones Unidas.
And from Beijing, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke with his Iranian counterpart. Wang backed Iran's right to self-defense but warned that force will not bring lasting peace. Global leaders continue to rally for restraint as tensions rise. Now we have guest Shruti Das Gupta. She's an international affairs expert. She's joining us live from New Delhi, India. Thank you, Shruti, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. What message is Israel sending by hitting both nuclear and economic sites in Iran, and how is this new wave of strikes different from previous Israel-Iran confrontations?
Greetings, Asoma. Thank you for having me on your show. What is happening right now is that these two nations are headlocked in a very destructive pattern of warfare. They have not only started, Iran on its side is hitting civilian targets as well as military targets. Israel from its side is hitting the nuclear sites, military sites, and now it has moved on towards its refineries and military oil structures as of now. So basically they're trying to dismantle each other's willpower to continue aggressions. Both sides have their own point of view. Israel feels threatened by the nuclear program of Iran, which it has refused to disclose under the IAEA rules. And Iran feels an existential crisis. Mind you, Israel does not have a non-proliferation treaty. It does not declare its nuclear assets. So Iran on its own feels threatened by the mere existence of Israel. So there is a conflict between these two, and they're headlocked in a literally dance to the death kind of a scenario in this war. The messaging that is going is that Israel will not stop till the time there is going to be a regime change, by ensuring that the economic targets as well as military targets as well as energy targets are hit. The point of view of the world is that the regime will fall because the regime is, as it is, very unpopular in its own ground. So Iran is going to face a flashback from its own people that this kind of a war is going to end up in making sure that Iran is thrown back 70 years in terms of its economic progress. So they are trying to ensure that there is a regime change, and the people that want the government to turn over will face a turnover. The Shah of Iran is in exile, and he has supported Israel's actions against Iran and its Ayatollah regime. So this kind of messaging is multifold happening that in the Middle East, and Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the other, Lebanon, they have all kind of, sorry, not Lebanon, Jordan have all come and spoken for Israel, while US, UK, they have all started moving assets on ground. So Iran is facing a very tough battle from inside as well as outside, and the messaging from Israel is clear: mend your ways, or we will make sure that you are no longer in power.
Can you build a little bit more on this, the divide within Iranian regime, as you just mentioned that Shah is in exile and he's not supportive of current regime, and then are there more people domestically supporting the Israel and Iranian conflict as of now?
The revolution that happened in 1979, which was the Islamic Revolution, not just changed the pattern of diplomacy in Iran, it changed the entire outlook of the society. So we've been hearing for many years now that women have been protesting for their rights of freedom, their rights of self-expression, and their rights of something as simple as covering their hair or not. There is not just capital punishment, there is also humiliating punishments meted out, public flogging, private flogging. So the regime itself is very unpopular. We've been tracking it, and from what I understand, close to 50% of Iran's mosques are no longer attended by the people. They do not want to sit and listen to imams under the Ayatollah regime pontificating from the mosques and telling them exactly how to live. The rejection is of the regime and not of the faith. They do continue their faith, but from what we know, a lot of them want to re-adopt their Persian roots, not just the Islamic roots. So we've been seeing celebration of the Persian New Year and all happening, dresses of that time, songs of that time. Mind you, all of these are forbidden under the Ayatollah regime. So the Shah of Iran was very supportive of a more progressive atmosphere in the nation. And he is right now, of course, being sheltered in other places, and he is wanting to come back to power. And from his messaging, as well as what the world looks at as the Ayatollah regime being a very suppressive, oppressive regime, they probably want to help the Shah conquer his nation back and reaffirm democracy the way it should have been in Iran as it was a few decades back.
And now zooming out to the bigger picture, is this the first time Israel has directly targeted Iran's energy infrastructure, and what are the implications of this attack?
No, Israel has done this before as well. They have targeted their nuclear scientists, they have targeted their nuclear structures, but never in an all-out, full-out war where ballistic missiles have been exchanged across the airspace. So Israel has continuously been trying to limit the military capacity of Iran, and currently it is in the most, if I speak geopolitically, it is in the most favorable place because there has been a regime change in Syria which has seen positive support from Netanyahu, and there is, of course, Hamas has been quite subjugated right now in Gaza. So there is, and Hezbollah is, because of the pager attacks that happened last year, that has ensured that a lot of the top regimes of all the terror organizations in these nations are no longer functional the way they should be. So Israel is in a very favorable favorable space right now to suppress the Iranian Ayatollah regime and its terror sponsors. So that is why it has gone out full out when the IAEA reports went out. When I spoke last time on your program, I had said that the IAEA has not been given permission to enter premises and locate and see and verify what is happening. So when they kind of issued a statement saying that, you know, they have enriched uranium and we have no clue what they're doing, they have expressed concern and they have issued sanctions as a UN body. Now, because of that, the fear that has arisen in the Israeli is that if Iran wants, it can become the top dog by actually possessing nuclear power. So this is why they have kind of gone out in a full-on war with Israel, and they have ensured that they've killed top commanders, they have executed, I shouldn't use the word executed, neutralized their scientists, and have kind of put Iran in a place where their nuclear program and their military capabilities have rolled back. So now it's a do and die kind of a situation for the Ayatollah regime. If they want to hold on to power or the progress that they have made, they're going to have to ensure that at least the people that do remain in the country and supportive of its efforts are able to find a way through by showing Israel that they still have the capability of responding and retorting to any kind of aggression that comes from across the land.
And building on the IAEA topic, the IAEA just confirmed that there is no visible damage on nuclear sites of Iran. Does this signify or reduce the risk of it becoming a bigger nuclear conflict?
Actually, I think that is a good report that is coming forth. There is no significant damage that basically would ensure that there is no radiation leak or chemical leak that is happening through Israel's strikes. That is a point in favor of Israel. That means they have chosen their targets very, very carefully. They have disabled the ability of those sites without actually causing a nuclear fallout. So it does not kind of put back their nuclear arsenal on fire. There is no radiation happening, there are no underground explosions happening, there is no cook-off happening in these sites, which would have spread a radiation fallout for the region of Iran as well as nations close by. So it's a positive thing that has been reported. On top of that, because they have hit these sites, they have ensured that the materials that are there, the equipment that is there, is not going to be easily transportable, they're not going to be easily used. So the uranium is intact from what I understand, but the sites are not very much in favor of it being used. It's kind of going to be restrictive action, preemptive and restrictive action rather than exploding the nucleus in the face of Iran.
And Shruti, how will this conflict affect regional and global energy supply chains, especially for countries reliant on Gulf gas or Iranian gas? And what impact could this have on global oil and gas prices?
Well, with the news of the very first strike, the oil prices had reached sky high. So there is going to be energy crisis that the world is going to face, and people are going to be scrambling to ensure that their nations are provided for. Iran, of course, on its own doesn't want sanctions. It has already faces many sanctions, with the US threatening people that anybody who buys Iranian oil shall face further sanctions and tariffs. So the global energy market is going to see a lot of fluctuations as a result of this. If the regime change actually happens as a consequence of this exchange of hostilities between Israel and Iran, this kind of an energy crisis would be mitigated to a large extent, because whoever is going to promise the world free access and more viable access to Iran's oil reserves is going to be somebody who's going to be put in place. But on the other side, if the regime change doesn't happen, Iran is going to deal with its enemies very, very strictly, and that is going to help people who do have oil reserves and those who don't face very, very high charges. So the economic fallout of it is going to be borne by the rest of the world. Apart from that, the regional stability is going to face a kind of tussle. There are a large Yemen, Lebanon and Gaza, Palestine, Western Bank, they're all going to be very aggressively posturing towards Israel. And contrarily, the US has, I believe, already evacuated a lot of their civilian staff. The military is posturing, and UK has said that they're going to send planes to help Israel finish this entire conflict off. So regionally, Middle East might, if this conflict continues, Middle East might see a larger scale war, which might turn into a world war situation if things are not brought back to the diplomatic table and talks.
And Shruti, now looking at the call of Putin and Trump, with Putin being a close ally of Iran and Trump both calling for de-escalation, could this open a path for back-channel diplomacy?
I think the channels for black channel diplomacy are already in place. I do believe that Iran has been trying to call Putin and have Russia support its sovereignty and its right to strike, and Russia has chosen to stay out of this conflict as of now. The conversations between US and Russia are going to have larger impact on the region itself, because they do have interests over there. So what we are going to see is that both these nations are going to try and put Israel and Iran take 2 steps back and come back to talking terms. But of course, the nuclear talks between US and Iran have been postponed as of now. They're not going to be held on the 15th. And that is going to be the primary focus of Israel, that Iran bends its knee at the nuclear table, and only then it's going to stop the aggression. So back channel talks are already in place, but we hope that these other nations are able to ensure that no more lives are lost, no more resources are wasted in a fight, as well as there is no longer a nuclear fallout.
Thank you very much, Shruti Dasgupta, for bringing your expertise